answers, but I didn't want to leave the session without telling you where you can find further information. I think that the session was extremely useful, but I'm sure that if you are interested in all this, you would need to go to other resources in order to be more informed about that. So the first thing is that we have not only created technologies, we are conscious that this requires some time, and for that we have created a lot of things that will help developers to know exactly how to use the generic enablers. So in order to make your life very easy, we have organized many webinars so far. There were some already this week, but there will be more in the coming months. Then you can also find a lot of tutorials on the FILab site. So they are tutorials that you can read, but there are also a lot of videos that have been created where you can learn exactly how to use each of the generic enablers or what you can do with that. And finally, we have also created something that was shown by Juanjo in his presentation that we call the FIWARE University. Here you have the link where you can go there and you can select a category of course and follow a course. It's not only something that you will get without knowing exactly if you really achieve the purpose of the learning course, but it is a real learning course in the sense that it will take into account your progress, what you are learning, and you will have to go through several tests. So it's really a learning platform that you can use in order to assess exactly what is your knowledge about all this technology that we have mentioned so far. I don't want to extend more the presentation, but I think it is very useful for you if you are really interested in getting more information and learning on how to use the things. Then another important point is how to get engaged and stay tuned. And for this, let me tell you that there was a challenge that was launched some time ago, and in principle it should be closed at this time, but we decided to extend the deadline, and this will close on the 24th of April. So a challenge is the same kind of contest where our colleagues from Smart Taxi and Footloop participated. So they got quite a lot of money to develop their applications. And this is now open for all of you if you are really interested in also showing your capacities to use the FIWARE technology in order to create value. The important thing here is that we have opened 2 challenges. The first one is for social applications, so things like social inclusion, health, education, all these kind of fields will be accepted as applications here, and we have like 200,000 euro in prizes for the winning applications. And then we have also another challenge that is open, that is for those applications that will prove using the FIWARE technology with a lot of excellence. So the applications that will win here are those ones that will really prove a very good use of the FIWARE technologies that we have put at your disposal. And we will have around 150,000 euro for this challenge. So everything is open until the 24th of April. What you have to do here is send in your ideas. Then we will select the 20 best ideas, if I'm not wrong. And the 20 teams that will be selected in the first round will be sent to the next campus party. So we will pay the trip to them. They will go to campus party where they will finalize their prototypes. And then in campus party, we will announce who are the winners. So I think this is quite interesting for those people that are really interested in creating new applications. And maybe if you need some additional examples to get inspired about what can be done with the technology, follow that link there where you can find the description of all the applications that we got so far in the different challenges and hackathons that FIWARE organized in the last years. So for example, you can get a description of all the winning applications under the different challenges, smart cities, but also smart businesses in different sectors. You can know exactly who won, who are the teams, which generic enablers they used, and which are the functionalities that they created for these applications. So I think that can be quite useful for all of you to start with. And then don't forget that we have also a YouTube channel where you can find a lot of videos. I understand that sometimes going to a wiki page or things like that that contain a lot of text can be a bit boring. So if you don't want to go to that kind of resources in the first step, then visit this YouTube channel where you will find a lot of things that will inspire you, including interviews to all the winners of the different hackathons, but also interviews to many people like mayors of different cities, and like that you will get a flavor of what is the value for each of the stakeholders that are involved in this process. With this, I finish my presentation. I would like to thank again all the speakers here. So thank you very much to all of you. I would like to give you the opportunity to maybe make a couple of questions or more if you are excited about making questions now. So the floor is yours. I think that we can count on the microphones that are on the corridors. And so the floor is open. Any question from the audience to any of the speakers? OK, Ariane?
Okay, thank you. Good morning, my name is Arjan Zwegens from the European Commission. I have a question to Marco, Christophe, and Geronimo. Development in FIWARE has now been going on for 3 years, and there will be another 2 years. So from your point of view, since you are the actual users, where would you put the priorities in those last 2 years? Would it be on extending the number of generic enablers? Would it be on improving the generic enablers, improving support? You mentioned the steep learning curve, for instance. Where would you put the emphasis?
First?
You go ahead first.
That is, I think, tricky and, how do you say this, tramposa question, because they don't know what could be the new generic enablers, whether they will love them or not. So, okay, but you can answer.
From my experience, the one thing I recall from December is probably even faster responding support, probably. That I remember 2 of my developers had certain questions about Android flow management and the implementation, and back then, and we got a response within 3 days, but at that point we couldn't come further ahead because we didn't know how to proceed. So a response time within 24 hours would be even more desirable. But in general, within the past, we have been dealing with AWS, as they have a startup program as well, and SAP. Since we were able to start with FIWARE, which is basically both in one, plus even more technology, we have everything in one spot. And if we have a question, we just hit the send the question button and don't have to deal with 2 different entities, which is already a huge progress than what we've had before. Because I can promise you, Amazon and even SAP took even longer. With SAP, we had a telephone support that we could call, but to get a freaking appointment with that telephone support, it took up to 1 month. And here, the 3 days time is already good. So I'd say much better than with the commercial companies in the past, from our aspect.
I focus on the documentation because we had some doubts. Although we started from scratch, basically, we didn't have experience with Hadoop and these platforms before starting to develop. Even though we managed to do it in 3 days, but we had some problems that maybe for us because we didn't have experience. I focus on documentation, examples, how to start, and progress.
Well, from my point of view, of course, I don't know the next enablers, so they may be wonderful. But I also believe there are many projects that can contribute other enablers to FIWARE. So it is good if there is a possibility for the projects to go in this direction. But being open to contribution from outside would be an important element from the technical point of view. But I have to agree that the focus should also move towards exploitation. So having better documentation, better support, and more success cases. The 2 cases were very nice, so I learned a lot here, and this was my goal. But having more of these examples to be shown, the more of these concrete starting point, I believe would be very important. And speaking on my behalf, having good examples also of smart cities adopting the platform as a whole, instead of important but somehow vertical applications, would be another important result to be achieved by the end of the project.
So any other question? If not, maybe since Juanjo has mentioned the new generic enablers, maybe it could be quite useful for the audience to have a very quick idea of the kind of things you have in mind for the next phase of the project. What kind of enablers can we expect?
Well,
summarizing,
I mean, for instance, one particular set of enablers that I'm pretty sure that might be very interesting for many applications are those that have to do with KPI indicators, indicators, dashboards, and so on. For this, we are going to provide an alternative that to existing, let's say, commercial products that are very expensive, such those based on MicroStrategy and stuff like that, or business objects and stuff. And this, I think, is rather valuable. We know about, for instance, potential customers that are asking for that. So these are just a good example of enablers that if you, our experience is when we tell the people we are going to provide this, they say, oh, then I like it very much. Or for instance, in smart cities, when we say, in the next release, we want to have SICAN as one of the enablers. Then the people say, wow, this is great. So there are examples of that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And Silvio, I have a doubt. What is the role of FIOPS in the commercial deployment of FIWARE? Does it play a major role there or not?
Yeah, okay. At the moment, of course, we are working in development of FIOPS for the FILAB Federation in particular. So we used it for federating 5 infrastructure at the moment, and in future we will use it for the 12 more infrastructure going to join the federation. But this doesn't mean that it cannot be used in the future for setting up, different clouds, different FIWARE instance, also private cloud, for example. The idea is to provide a FIOPS tool as an open source, so everyone can use it and basically create its own cloud and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. So it's not restricted to the usage in a FILAB, for example.
Mm-hmm. So your last opportunity to make a question. I know that the coffee is waiting for you. If not, I hope that the session was useful. At least it was very useful for me. I'm really happy that we really were able to bring some of the developers that were developing applications. I think it's one of the few times that we really saw FIWARE in practice and in applications that have already been developed. And since you know that we will have a second conference on future internet in Munich in September, if I'm not wrong, I really hope that in the next session we will not have only 2 or 3 examples, but we will really have at least 5 or 10 examples more. And for that, I encourage you to go to the technology and bring your imagination to FIWARE. So thank you very much for being here this morning.